he call it a chip brush.
That's what Lowe's and Home Depot and
Okay.
house painters call them.
Right.
I don't know why. They are cheap as well. It's a cheap chip brush. Chip brushes are cheap, and that's one of the reasons I like them. But this is by far my most favorite brush. And the reason a nice one won't work is that a nice one makes nice clean marks. And it's precisely clean marks is what I don't want. I want messy marks, which is what this has. Now this one, you'll discover also sheds. So especially when it's brand new. So just either leave the hairs there and say, this is a real oil painting, it has hairs in it to prove it, or pick the hairs off at one layer at a time as you will. And I would recommend, if you have a rag or paper towel, just dip your brush into your turpenoid just so it's wet instead of dry. I don't want it dripping wet, I just want it moist. So I'm sort of, this is, especially those of you with the new brush, it's sort of like priming your brush, okay? And then dip your now primed, slightly damp brush into a bunch of liquid. So some of you just used up all the liquid that you put out. $100, that's all right. And let's pick a color, any color. This is a daytime scene, so we're not going to do, my old painting. We're not going to do this. I've done that once. That was enough. We're going to stick closer to what the photograph is. So we're going to do a daytime painting, and our Earth circles a warm yellow sun. So all the light that hits the Earth is yellowish, warmish. So I'm dipping my brush into orange and Indian yellow. If you don't have Indian yellow, you just dip part of it into yellow and part of your brush into orange so that you have yellow-orange color on your brush. Okay? This is because, let me back up and say, not just because we're circling the yellow sun. This is important, and this is pretty, welcome. What is your name?
Thanks, Paul.
Hi, Paul. That's all right, Dan. I'm sorry. We're just about to start, and Milton and Jessica on either side of you will, if you ask them for, what did he say? They'll help you, I'm sure. We're just about to make our first mark. So, all good painting is the most important aspect of a painting is play of light effects, light exploding, light smashing, light zinging, light reflecting. Not, by the way, which way is the light coming from? Or even light hitting the sand. That's way too mild. Okay, so I'm trying to help you here. How do you be a good painter? You forget that we're painting cottages at the beach. You're not painting cottages at the beach. You're painting explosions of light and shards of light bouncing and reflecting and light springing and light sparkling. That's what you're painting. Okay? So what I strongly recommend, what I do when I paint, is I start by painting the light first thing first. So what we have in this photograph is pretty much high noonday sun. It's going to be coming from the right. Is it coming from the right? Yes, it is. It's a bad photograph, by the way. Did I say that yet? Yes, I did twice. It's a bad photograph. One of the things that's bad about it is the light is almost straight up. But doggone it, I was in where? Nag's Head at 12:30, and I had to get on to wherever I was going next. So I just took some bad pictures and jumped back in the car. I'm making that part up. I don't remember what I did that day. But that's the idea, okay? So we're not going to imitate the light that's in this painting. We're going to amplify and exaggerate the light that's in this painting. So this part is unusual. This is a Dan Nelsonism. The way I paint is absolutely beyond question the best way to paint until 8:01 this evening. Okay? And so I'm the lights here. Here's our composition, Paul. We got that from the photograph, but we're not painting, so we're not painting the photograph. Okay, and here's my first. That wasn't very good. There wasn't enough paint. Witness my distress. In other words, I'm not worried about that at all. That is not a beach. That's sunlight. Springing, sprunging, exploding, smashing, crashing, reflecting, boinging off a beach. In the first half of this class today, my challenge to you, I beg you, try to be as messy as I am. Most.
Cover the whole canvas or just?
No, no, oh, no, no. Do what I do, more or less. Yeah, not the whole canvas. Right, right. I'm going to do a little bit more, but not much. And I beg of you to try to be as messy as I am. Now, some of you, this is just you obsessive compulsive types. I was one of those. I took pills and got over it. That's true, except for the pills part. You can't stand leaving streaks like that, but I beg of you to leave streaks. Don't go. Don't start going smooth. Don't I do that so well? It's just disgusting, isn't it? Don't smooth it off. Don't smooth it out. Leave it rough.
So on that, do you prepare?
The canvas?
Yes.
Good question. Rarely. I love to, but I don't usually have time. Usually, like you, I just bought this canvas off the shelf 40 minutes ago, and here I am painting it. That's typical. No, what I really like to do is give it a couple extra coats of gesso with texture. So, excellent question. But I don't usually. 80 to 90% of my canvases start out just like this. Okay, you got that much done? Now, let's add to the illusion that that's sun hitting sand by making the sand get darker as it gets closer to us. That's sort of vaguely reflected in the photograph. Light sand, slightly darker sand. We're going to take that and crank it up. We're going to exaggerate it quite a bit. Again, this is a slightly unusual way to start a painting. It's not unique. Some of my favorite painters in the world, Richard Schmid, Jeremy Mann, skipped my name, just skipped from Romania. Some of my favorite painters some of the best painters, Rembrandt. Some of the best painters in the world would start vaguely like this, but it's not the most traditional. I'll tell you what is the most traditional later. So don't clean your brush, leave it dirty, and I'm dipping it now in burnt sienna or whatever brown. Do you have a brown there? The yellow. Stay away from yellow ochre. And by the way, some of you put out white. That's okay, but stay way, 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 way far away from that white until the last 35 minutes of the class is when we'll use white. Okay. So some kind of brown. I have a little burnt umber or raw umber. And again, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dip my brush to make sure it's just a little bit wet. Same kind of action. Now, let me explain a little bit. Why do I paint so messy, and why do I want you to paint messy? I have two absolutely foundational theses, foundational statements for how and why I paint the way I paint. Number one, the most important aspect of any painting is play of light. Not which way is the light coming from. That's junior high, no-brainer. You get 0 points for getting that answer correct. The reason I'm mean about that is because by the way, I interface with students and beginners all the time, and one of the things we hear among students is, well, which way is the light coming from? And then they go, oh my God, I didn't think of that. And then they talk, well, it's coming, okay, it's coming from the right. That kind of conversation, here's what's bad. If you give yourself a pat on the back for getting that correct, then you stop and you feel like you've accomplished something. I want to say, you ain't accomplished nothing. You got your team on the field, but you got your butt kicked 167-0 by getting which way is the light coming from. You don't get any points for that. What you get points for is light doing dramatic things. That's what you get points for. Are you with me? Okay? So no points for which way is the light coming from. That's just stupid. That's just dumb. And I'm being really mean here because a lot of students really sweat and strain and say, well, I got the light coming from the left or the right. I say, yeah, and then you congratulated yourself and sat on your butt and thought you were done. No, you just hadn't even gotten started yet. It's okay. The light's coming from the right of this painting, by the way. But we don't care about that. So the most important aspect of a painting is zing, zang, za, reflection, explosion, but is play of light. If you got that, it's a short class. I can't say it 17 more times. That's it. You just got to grab that. And this is universal, by the way. Rembrandt, Da Vinci, blah, 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 blah. This is universal. Play of light is where it's at. Okay, number one. Now, number two, changing gears a whole bunch. The most important No, the essence of painting. Painting is a verb. The essence of painting is making interesting marks. What doth a good painting make? And the answer is fascinating marks, good marks, interesting marks, beautiful marks, pretty marks. Like, you know, then we get into kind of a smooshy, sentimental kind of thing. I don't want to go there. Interesting marks is the best word. And the most important aspect of interestingness, can I make up language, is variety. So variety of stroke, variety of brush stroke is what sets apart the geniuses from all the rest of us. Okay? Why is Richard Schmid a better painter than me? And I say that through clenched teeth because I'm clawing and scratching and everything my way to be as good as him, and my goal is I will be by the time I'm 70. I've only got 7 more years to get there, okay? But I know what I'm scratching and clawing toward. It's to make marks as good as his. Does that make sense? Because that is the essence, the sine qua non, without which nothing, in Latin. If you ain't got this, you ain't got nothing. The sine qua non of painting is making interesting or beautiful marks. So that's why I'm making beautiful marks. And beautiful marks are made by bold, bodacious, strong, confident, energetic movements. Are you with me now? You saw me make them, and it was a great mystery to you. It's like, oh, why is he doing that? Why is he painting like a wild man? Because I'm happy. Well, it doesn't matter if I'm in a good mood or not, but my arms have to be in a good mood. Does that make sense? I don't care if I'm about to kill myself because I'm grumpy or depressed. If I'm going to paint a good painting, my arms have to act like I'm in a good mood. You with me? And they do. And by the way, I am in a good mood, but no worries, I'm not about to kill myself. Not in this class. Maybe the next one. Okay. Those are the 2 founding principles. And it was okay for us to do that because we wanted that to kind of sit there for a while. Anyway, now, if you have a rag on you or a paper towel, this would be a good time to pick it up and clean your brush, not thoroughly. Don't put it in Turpenoid. Just vigorously rub your brush on a rag or paper towel. By the way, if you don't have any paper towels, there are some back there to the right of the sink. I have some here. The reason I'm saying that is I want this brush to be slightly dirty, and I don't want you to stir up our terpenoid fumes and so on, so just leave that stuff be. But you need to behave vigorously, as I do. You can't pussyfoot around with this. Paint like a man, Jessica. You might be a woman, but you got to paint like a man. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is, again, so pick up some terpenoid. Where are you, Ashley? Oh, you're behind us.
I'm making brown.
Oh, okay, gotcha. You are, and that brown is very opaque. I don't know what it's made out of. Oh, it's got yellow ochre in it.
I know you told me not to use
Yeah, yellow ochre is, that's right, so just add more liquid to it to make it transparent. Is this your liquid or hers?
We're sharing.
Okay, just more of that. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, now take your brush. Let's do it, it's either phthalo or ultramarine. Let's do phthalo. Okay, now, can you tell which is which? Phthalo blue is a greener blue, or warmer blue. Ultramarine is a purpler blue. Well, let me make some swatches right now, just so you can, just for what it's worth. Can you see that? That is phthalo blue. Let me show you ultramarine. Let's clean off this brush a little bit.
This one.
And here is ultramarine. See the difference? Mm-hmm. They're both blue, but one's greenish blue and one's purplish blue. Okay? And how can you remember that? I don't know. By the way, that word ultramarine, what is that? You know what it means? It's a Eurocentric term. It means it comes from across the sea. Latin, ultramarine, came from across the sea. Is that crazy? So to this day we call it ultramarine because it came from far away from Europe. I think that's funny. Okay, so I want you to pick up with your big fat brush, liquid first of all, and then some phthalo blue. Now a little phthalo goes a long way, so you don't need too much of this stuff. you'll discover very quickly. And I want you to do some blue up here in the sky-ish region of your painting. I beg of you to try to be as messy as I am. You'll notice I didn't go quite to the top. And you'll notice I overlapped with my yellow-orange. In fact, picked up some of the yellow-orange.
Oh, that's too much.
Right. That's a good call. And yep. And is that ultramarine? I mean, is that phthalo? It looks ultra to me.
Well,
Let me come look at it.
I went clear.
That's in the right place.
I thought you said we could use ultramarine.
I get the same thing twice.
Yeah, maybe you did.
You want?
What's that?
In this.
Okay, I'll give you some of mine.
All right.
Did it that over there.
And a little phthalo goes a long way, so I'm not really being stingy. That's
Can
all.
you use ultramarine?
No. Yes, you can, but you won't. Later you'll wonder, why does somebody think this is? And that'll be part of the reason why.
I don't think I have that.
No. Oh, this is
That's cyan.
cyan.
And this is Prussian.
Okay. No, Jude, can I put it over here? Okay. There you go. Now, take a rag. Oh, by the way, at any point today, painting with a rag is legal. Now, let me be very clear about this. When you do pick up a rag or paper towel and you're painting with it, this is really important. I use funny language, but I'm dead serious. You're not erasing with a rag. Because when you erase, the spirit of eraser comes all over you. And the spirit of eraser is, and you're mad and you're fixing stuff. Okay, so no. We never erase with a rag. Every law can be broken, by the way. Instead, you paint with a rag. And so if you pick up a rag, for instance, Kathy needs to remove some of the ultramarine from her canvas with a rag or paper towel.
Before.
Yeah. And you're going to dip it in your turpenoid, and you paint with it, which means you make interesting marks. Every time you pick up a brush or a rag, you're making interesting marks.
Right, so we're supposed to be using the phthalo or the ultramarine?
Phthalo.
Okay, the one that you put on here for me. It looks so blue.
They both look so blue. One's a
It looks like
Dukish blue, one's
turquoise blue.
Carolina blue.
Which one?
Well, Dukish is closer to ultramarine. Carolina is actually closer to phthalo, but not exactly. Okay, I'm sorry, Bill.
I'm still not sure which blue.
Okay, here, let me come and help.
That's a prettier blue.
Well, it's pretty in the right context.
I use that.
Yes, that is the right one. It's very green. That's all right.
Well, I said because I screwed up and put the.
Not too bad. You can recover, Bill.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't have to clean your brush much at all. Just take that same brush and dip it in some ultramarine now, and maybe in some more liquid. How many of you are running out of liquid already? I am. And I had a generous tablespoon on there to begin with. I'm putting out more liquid, another generous
So
tablespoon.
you use ultramarine now?
Now ultramarine. And I'm going all the way to the top of my canvas now with that.
Did you wipe your brush?
I did not. I didn't even wipe it
No.
this time.
Okay.
Okay. Ashley's being a good example of a typical student, and we're just going to dial you down. You're using roughly 5 to 20 times more paint than you need with each stroke. Okay, so a little bit in art terms might mean 2 hairs dipped into the edge of a paint. That's a little bit. And that's all right. You can't learn this stuff apart from learning it. Okay? Let me clean your brush though. Again, you absolutely can't learn this stuff without doing it, so that's no shame at all. And you're not the only one that has that problem this evening. All right, is everybody more or less caught up? Now, I would like everybody to take a deep breath and say, "Phew, I'm doing a good job. Everything I've done so far on my canvas looks wonderful." Without looking at your canvases, and because I can't see very many, I'm going to predict the one mistake that 8 out of the 9 of you made, or 7 out of the 8 of you made. And it is, you're too neat. You weren't as messy as I am. When I said blue, and I did blue, I said, do this blue in the sky-ish region. You took the opportunity to draw a horizon line with your blue paint. Some of you didn't, and that's good. But that would be the most typical. Just to make sure that, let me do mine just a little bit more. So that here's my bluish paint in my sky-ish region. Now, okay, no, let me say, this is weird. This is Dan Nelson. This is the best way to paint, but it's an unusual way to paint. This is not universal. The next class you have, if you do this, your teacher will go, "Where in the world did you learn how to do that?" And you say, "Dan Nelson taught me." Now shut him up. Not at all the case. Okay, are you with me? So, but there's some really good reasons why I advocate this messy painting. Let me take just a minute and explain to you my approach, my approach to painting. And again, it's the best till 8 o'clock, then you can chuck it and take your next class and breathe a sigh of relief. But by the way, I really do think it's the best way to paint. Traditional painters, oil painters, block in their painting. Anybody heard that? If you've watched any YouTube videos, you've read any books, picked up any books, took any other classes, they say, here's how you oil paint. First of all, you block in your paintings. Okay, now I'm going to demolish that, in my opinion, with 2 points. Number one, blocks are square things with hard edges. We played with blocks when we were kids. So people who block in, their blocks tend to be squarish and have hard edges. It's uncanny. And I'm convinced it's partly because we call it blocking in. So language bleeds over into our the way we're doing things, and we do square-ish things with hard edges. That's the first mistake. The second mistake is if you block in a painting, especially with hard edges, you lock in. Block in, you lock in. Block in, you say, here's where my cottage is going. Damn it. Here's where my beach is going. Doggone it. Here's what, do you see? You're making decisions like right in the first 2 minutes of your painting. You're making the most important decisions. And how do you know that that's where that cottage ought to go? Maybe it ought to go this way, this way, this way, this way, or this way, and everything else in the painting. So what I recommend strongly is don't block in a painting, blob in a painting. Blob, 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 blob. Blob in a painting. Messy, 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 messy. Because nobody can tell where my horizon's going to go. Even I can't tell, and I don't want to tell right now. I'm purposely throwing myself a curveball so I don't really know what I'm doing, in a sense. Does that make sense to you? So I strongly advocate. Who else painted like this? Rembrandt, the best painter who ever lived in the whole history of human race. But you, instead of blocking in, blob in. Okay? Make a big mess at the beginning. Now, just this is way too much detail, but let me give it to you anyway. There's this thing I call the most immutable, its new name is called the Breakable Laws of Painting. And there's about 100 of them. My book's coming out, I hope, this fall. That's a free, cheap commercial right there. But the real reason I say that is not the advertising. The real reason is because I'm really working on this really hard. One of the laws is, as human beings, we like to see little bits of the object in the background and little bits of the background in the object. In this case, the object might be a cottage roof and the background is a sky. You with me? Human beings get a kick out of seeing little bits of the cottage roof that accidentally escaped into the sky. If it's a red roof, we like little bits of that red to somehow be suggested in the blue sky. And we like little bits of the blue sky to be suggested in the red roof. Now that sounds really weird and counterintuitive. That's why I'm teaching this class and you're not. Ooh, that was nasty. Forgive me. But I'm going way deep, way. I can't prove everything I'm saying just until 8 o'clock. Just trust me, it's absolutely true. We like to see little bits. So when you paint messy like this, that transference happens automatically. In other words, in this case, the beach yellow beach sand is the object and the sky is the background. We like to see a little bit of the beach color in the sky. This is so true, I can't even convince you enough. And we like to see a little bit of the sky and the beach. So when you paint messy like this, it happens automatically. Okay, so those are 2 reasons for why I paint so messy. 3 reasons: interesting marks, check. Blob in, so I'm not locked in, check. And transference of colors, little bits of this and that and this and that. Okay, so there's 3 good reasons for painting real messy. Okay? Now, we're gonna change gears significantly right now. There's all different ways we can go with this, but you don't have to clean that big brush. We may be done with it, I doubt it. Pick up a medium-sized small brush. This is about 1/2 inch wide. It's a number 6 filbert. You could use a round, it's just not as much fun. You could use a square, it's just more dangerous. A flat, it's just more dangerous. If you use a flat brush, don't use it on the flat. And let me pick up your flat brush.
What's yours?
Okay, it's perfect. This is Ann's flat brush. Let me demonstrate real quickly. A flat brush is a wonderful tool. The only crazy counterintuitive thing is you rarely paint with it like this. The way almost everybody thinks, yes, that's how you paint a house, right? That's how you paint. In other words, a flat is a great tool as long as you don't go like this. You use the corners and the edges and the point and so on and so forth. Everything but this, okay? So feel free to knock yourself out, use a flat, but don't use it as if you're painting a house. Why? Because human beings don't like seeing that the artist used a 1/2 inch brush here and here and here and here and here and here and here. Because what we like is interesting marks, and a 1/2 inch or 1 inch or 2 inch brush used on the flat gives boring repetition instead of interesting variety. Too much words, I hope you caught most of that, okay? So you have a brush now that's like this, more or less. And I want you to mix up some brown and some blue. I don't care which blue and I don't care which brown, but when you mix these 2 together, avoid white, by the way, stay away from, and avoid yellow ochre. Both of these colors should be transparent. So when you mix them together, they just create what I call dark black, B-L-E-C-K. Okay, this is dark black, and I'm making up, oh, and with liquid, by the way. So it's nice and runny. Can you see that? What color is that? I don't know. It's dark black.
What 2 colors did you use?
Blue and brown. Ultramarine, if you want to know which one, works best, but it's not critical. Ultramarine and burnt sienna. But any brown will do except yellow ochre. Stay away from yellow ochre because it's opaque. Okay, so now you have a brush full of stuff like this, right? Okay, watch me for just a moment. And one of the benefits of coming to a class is that you can watch me, and I want to say, paint like me. And you can't, I can't paint like you either, by the way. So if you were teaching, I couldn't do what you do. But be influenced by me. Take advantage of my presence to say, I should probably paint like him, okay? I know that sounds horribly egotistic, but that's why you take classes, okay? And by the way, most of my demonstrations, some of them last 2 seconds long. So when I say watch me, I don't mean start watching me after you do something, because you'll now this one's going to take a few more than that, but do watch me. Okay, so I'm looking at my sketch over there, and I'm looking at the photograph, both, and I'm thinking there's going to be a triangle roof here, and oh no, I think there isn't either. There's going to be a flat roof here, a triangle roof here, and a square roof here. That easel broke, by the way, just a while ago when it fell down. And here's a square roof, and there's going to be bits of sand dunes coming here, and there's going to be a fence down here. Go. And I beg of you to try to be as messy as I am. If that takes more than 60 seconds, you're way overthinking it. So whatever you have done in 60 seconds will remain undone at this point. How many of you can tell that those marks that I just made are preliminary. Yeah, good. Okay, in just a minute, we're gonna have a how to hold a brush class.
You said not to bring anything less than an inch.
Oh, good. Oh, did I?
Yeah. So I just made sure everything was an inch and above.
That's funny. I don't remember saying that, but you can certainly borrow the mine.
Cause I had
I thought you said nothing smaller than 2.
Nothing smaller than a 2. Yeah. That's what I said.
you know.
Yeah, a 2 is a 2 is really small. But that's all right. But just try to remember to give me that brush back if you don't mind. And by the way, I'm very good at stealing all of your brushes. So if I borrow your brush, Ashley, you're in the greatest danger. Make sure I give it back to you. Okay? That you should be done. Yes, Jessica. Okay. 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 Let's back up and do a how to hold a brush lesson. Okay. Now you saw me do this, but it didn't register, nominal register. Real simple. You hold your brush in any manner except this one. And here's why. Now I learned this in college. No. I didn't. I was told this in college, but I wasn't told why. So I'm going to tell you why. This is how you've written your name and penmanship. 3rd grade, you were sweating with that great big honking pencil and the paper with the chips of wood in it to write letters. And you began programming your brain, hardcore programming. This is your control grip. This is, dang it, I shall control this brush if it's the last thing I do. Okay, the pencil grip. When you hold a pencil that way, you're hardwired, like you've got an electric cable this big around from your hand to your brain to the control freak center of your brain. And you can't paint because you're in the wrong part of your brain. Okay? So you hold a brush in any manner. You can hold it like a tomahawk or an axe or anything else. I typically hold it like this, what I call side saddle, but loosely. Because the reason is, now I'm not in the control freak center of my brain. Most of the time, the only time I hold my brush this way, literally, is when I'm doing my signature at the end. So yeah, Milton, this is way different from architecture school. And I, by the way, go to my website, look at illustrations. I do architectural renderings. I did one today. Ruler, straight line, control grip. There's a time and a place for that. But this is not the time. Oil painting is almost never the time and place for that part of my brain. That part of your brain, the control, is a really bad artist. It's a control freak part of your brain. I'm going to control this. And most of you think that's where good painting lies in the realm of control, and it does not. Good painting lies in the realm of happy accidents and transcendent, wonderful, accidental things happening go way beyond what your brain can make up. Okay? Whew, what a mess. Let's paint with a rag. This is slightly unconventional, but not, okay, we talked, Jessica, about how to hold a brush.
Okay.
Anything but this. The only time you can hold your brush today is when you're doing your signature. All the rest of the time, okay? Let's paint with a rag or paper towel. Rag really is better, but if all you have is a paper towel, good enough. Now, again, we're not going to erase, right? We're painting with a rag. By the way, you're beginning to see a pattern. Every time we touch our canvas, it gets just a tiny bit more defined. A tiny bit is a key concept. Can I wax philosophical sort of just for a minute? Most students, when they see a finished painting, they have completely the wrong idea. All they're seeing is the last layer of 17 layers, and they think that last layer is the painting. When in fact the artist is on layer, 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 smudge, smooth, and the very final thing he did was, and that's what is what the student sees and thinks that's the painting. Well, it's not. It's the layer, 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 as I said, 17. I'm not sure that's the right number. Sometimes it is. Okay? So what you're experiencing here is layer, 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 layer. The students are almost always, always anxious because you're a little bit nervous that you might screw up. Oh, I forgot to say this. We take a big breath. Nobody's going to walk out of here with masterpiece. Except maybe me. That's really snarky. I shouldn't say that. But okay, no pressure. What I want you to walk out of here is understanding. everything on your canvas is just an exercise that got you greater understanding, okay? Not everybody teaches that way. Some teachers teach so that you walk out of here with a little pretty picture of a birdhouse or a daffodil or something, and that you feel like you painted something, but you have no idea how to paint. You hear a little scorn in my voice, hope it's not too much, but I'm here to teach your brain how to paint. And this is simply an exercise rectangle, okay? So no pressure. Please don't feel like you should be doing a good painting. Please don't feel like you should be doing a good painting. I could care less. What I care about is what goes on inside your head. Okay, ragtime. I'm going to do something like, this, by the way, this really does bother me that it's down here. You guys can't see it. Hang on. Can I do something like that? Okay. So now I'm looking at that sketch and saying some of the light stuff. Now I'm looking at the sketch or the photograph through different lens all of a sudden. I'm looking for light objects, not white, but light. Make sense? Because I'm going to take some paint off with a rag, which is going to make the painting lighter in areas, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, way over here, whoa, that was more than I thought. It came off more than I expected, but that's okay. I'm going to work with it. I'll probably go something like this. Say, okay, yeah, that's okay. This roof, is that dark or light? It's definitely dark, so I'm painting, going around that roof. This next is, are all my cottages going to be as dark as the photograph? Forgive me, I'm thinking, would it be better if one of these was white? I don't know the answer to that question. No, I don't think so. I think I'm going to continue with dark. So I'm basically painting around the cottages, but not too carefully. You understand? But, and by the way, no, we might do this later. No. This is a punchy rag, okay? Because what's most important? No. What is the essence of good painting? Is making what?
Interesting marks.
Yeah, interesting marks. Interestingness is more important than literalness. It's more important that every mark be interesting than it is that every mark be accurate. That's really hard for some of you to hear and believe, but it is true. Okay? Now, what else is light in this painting? Sand. So, you can see I just made a bunch of squiggles here representing, it's just almost like a reminder of, oh yeah, there's going to be finger dunes coming down, I'm calling it that, finger dunes coming down into the beach, or beach fingers going up into the dune, whichever. And my lines are not definitive at all. They're just like kind of a reminder, they go here, roughly. But now I'm going to say, I'm going to start making some decisions, like, and I'm looking at the photograph a little bit, and now what I do, this is sand now. I'm looking at my sketch, I'm looking at my photograph. Let me try to give you the right impression. Do I know what I'm doing? In a sense. In a sense, no, I don't. Every mark that I make is a little bit of a surprise to me, and I respond to the surprise with reaction. I react to what just happened. Like you saw me do a big time up here when I made that first mark. I was like, whoa, it was way lighter than I thought. So then I responded to that. And then there's this fence down here. Now the fence is dark, so I don't paint the fence, but I might paint around the fence a little bit. How about in front of the fence? Yeah, I'm going to make a hill of sand and maybe in front of the fence a little bit. Okay, I think I'm done. Now your experience is going to be different from mine. Some of you might need to push down a little harder to get a little bit more white. Some of you might need to push down less hard, so it's less white. Now, I didn't say this earlier, I didn't check your canvases. Did everybody have their whole entire canvas had paint on it a little while ago?
Not totally.
That was part of the, if not, you can pick up a brush and do some of it now. There shouldn't be any, in my opinion, there shouldn't be any white virgin canvas still showing through. It should all have stuff on it. But when you're doing that, do it with interesting marks in mind, interesting strokes. Okay, I'm going to stop right there and let you guys ask questions or cogitate out loud, express your confusions or your questions, or your light bulbs, like, oh wow, this light bulb just came on. Any?
So you're using way more
Liquid.
of this and way less paint.
Yes.
I feel like this brush is just full of paint.
Okay, then wipe it off with a paper towel
And then
behind
just-
you. Yep.
Yeah. Just-
I can't see your painting bill, but that's probably correct. Yeah, you're not bad. You're within shouting distance. Then. Okay. Kathy, can I pick on you?
Yeah.
You're doing wonderfully.
I did pick on me because I'm sort of.
By the way, I'm going to turn this off. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll do a more class some other day. Bye. Sorry, I almost forgot that it was